Today's video is one of those videos that I do every single year that a lot of players request, and that is, how do I build my own scheme on the offensive side of the ball? I love this topic because every year we can teach you guys stuff that can really help you go off on your own and become a next level player. Let's get into it. What is up, guys? Zam from the Madden YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to show you guys how to scheme up your own offensive scheme in just 6 simple tips. Now, this is something that a lot of players ask me every single year about Madden. Doesn't matter what year. Now, the meta may shift on defense from year to year, whether it's a man coverage game or a zone coverage based game. But if you apply these rules that I'm about to teach you guys, you will be set in any Madden ever. So hopefully this is some evergreen content for you guys, something you might bookmark and come back to at a later date for better referencing. Now, let's go ahead and get started here. These rules apply regardless of shotgun or under center. So I want to say that from the jump, because rule number 1 is something that most players skip altogether. And I think that that's the foundation of any offense. It is your run game. Now, I know running is not sexy. Listen, I understand, but you have to have the ability in your run scheme to give your opponent multiple gaps to worry about. This is one of the big reasons I am an under center player. I think under center has better variety in your run schemes, and you can flip them. If you compare that to, say, a shotgun based offense where inside zone is not flippable, and really some of the other runs that go off of the inside zone, like some of the counters and things like that, are slow developing, you can understand why players don't really run the ball a lot from shotgun. And a lot of the best offenses in the game, meta-wise, are shotgun-based offenses, and those players tend to not have a great run game, or at best, it's a telegraph run game when they audible down. And we'll get to that momentarily as well, because those are the biggest tells in some of the most popular offenses out there. So when I'm talking about your run game, you need what is called a 3-headed rushing attack. Shout out to Gibbs and Farrells. If you guys remember them back in, Madden 09 through 13. This is a big part of their offenses, and I've always taken this rule to heart, and it's the number 1 thing in any offense I create. You must have a left, middle, and right run, hence the 3 heads, left, middle, right. Now, for some offenses, that might be a stretch that you can flip left or right. For other offenses, that might be a stretch to the right, maybe a counter back to the left, and your middle can be any type of run you want. So when you look at a scheme, you want to make sure that you have run variety. So take, for instance, my favorite offense, which is the single back bunch X Nasty, which you can find on my website, gridirongameplans.gg. I think this is the best under center run scheme in Madden. You start off with a wide zone weak, which you can flip left or right. You've got a slam, which you can hit up the middle. You've got inside zone, which is not something I call very often, but it is something that is there. A lot of players like inside zone from shotgun. You've got one here. You've got an inside zone split, which can pick off some of those pesky gap shoots that players like to run. You've got counter. You've got pitch. The key that I'm showing you here, dive. We have scheme variety in our run game. This is why it's one of the best run schemes in the game. Every run has a front that it really gives trouble. So with this variety, you're prepared for any defensive scheme that might come up against. You might be facing dollar, nickel normal, nickel over G, 3-3-5 cup, 3-3-5 normal, a nickel 2-4-5 set, quarters. It doesn't matter. You're going to be in a good spot no matter what, because you've got something that can attack all of those formations, and most importantly, all types of run fits, whether it's a cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 with the safeties in the alleyways. We'll get into that type of coverage in a different video, but I hope that you guys can understand variety in your run scheme is very important. They have to be able to stop all these different runs, because if they gap shoot just a stretch, they might not be prepared for a counter or an inside zone split. Or if they have good dive defense, maybe it's going to be susceptible to an outside zone. Those are the things that are very important. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, your blocking game. This is the most important part of your offense. If you cannot block a meta blitz out of your formation is not viable. I see so many players, and don't get me wrong, these are cute offenses. They come out and they run something like maybe gun spread, and I'm not saying that can't be a good formation against certain metas, but every formation has something that usually can get to it pretty well, whether it's dollar or nickel over or some sort of blitzing scheme out of something obscure. You need the ability to block something. So let's go ahead and explain what I'm talking about here. You've got formations that are very meta, like bunch. If I were to go ahead and come out and bunch now, they've removed the ability for us to block the tight end. So what we really have is the ability to just block a running back. Well, let's say that they've got pressure off the left side, but they've also got something off the right side. You have to have the ability to block somebody, and sometimes that means using your receivers as a blocker. I'm sure you guys have seen what I'm about to do right here, which is I'm just going to motion snap Jefferson to the inside. And then we snap this ball and he blocks a slot blitzer. And then that gives us time to pick up the all-out heat, and we're moving up the field. I see way too many players call formations in this game that don't have the ability to max protect 7. And then when they get hit with a 6-man pressure that guarantees double edge heat, they don't have an answer because they refuse to use the receivers as blockers. Sometimes the pressure that is being sent to you dictates what you have to do, and you have to be flexible enough to mold your schemes. It's not as simple as, hey, I blocked a running back, or hey, I blocked 6 and they said 6. It is never that simple. So you guys need to have an answer for those guaranteed double-sided pressures or those slot pressures when you can't block a running back and a tight end. This is a lot of times where I see some pretty nasty passing schemes crumble, is just how unprepared they are from a blocking standpoint. So it's not enough just to be able to block the running back or just block a tight end. You need to have the ability to block guaranteed pressures that get 2 guys free. If you don't have that in your offense, it is not worth running. That's rule number 2. Now, guys, if you guys are enjoying this video, please do me a quick favor. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment below. And if you guys want one of the best and most multiple offensive schemes in Madden, this is an offensive meta that a lot of players are starting to run and have performed very, very well in MCS ladders, the competitive ladders that have been going on for the wild card tournament. Go over to Gridiron Game Plans, got the X Nasty game plan out of the Rams or the Vikings offense. It is the exact same playbook. We also have other offensive schemes on the site, and we have all the defensive content as well. It's all included with your membership, 8+ game plans, and over 110 vault tips, all included for $9.95 a month. We're always adding content every single week. And you guys get access to our Discord lab sessions every single Wednesday, and the Discord overall, where you can chat with other members of the website. Now let's get into part number 3, and likely the reason most of you guys click this video to begin with, your pass game. Now this is very, very important, and I'm going to take you guys into my X Nasty offense for this. We're going to keep it real simple. I've got some rules for your passing game, and if you guys follow these rules, you guys are going to be far better off. The pass game must be able to beat man coverage. And I think that it's really important that we get this out of the way here in this game specifically, Madden 23. Listen, abilities beat man, route combos beat zone. I'm gonna say that again. Abilities beat man, route combos beat zone. And what I mean by that is if you guys put short in elite, slot-o-matic, route tech, some sort of route ability on your players against man coverage, this is gonna make them so that way they can create separation on many, many routes. This is going to allow you to freestyle, use, slot apprentice posts, slot apprentice corners, whips, ins, slants, drags, anything really, crossers, Texas routes. And if you have route abilities on these guys, they fry their man-to-man coverage. So for those of you that are out there that are trying to beat man coverage and you don't have route abilities on your field, start there, put abilities on your players, make that your priority in your scheme, whether it's CFM, MUT, spend your AP on route abilities, and then use your AP the rest of the way to protect your quarterback and get velocity. Really, really important. Now, when it comes to zone coverage, this is where we're going to take the field here. You guys have to be able to check the boxes of beating the man coverage that I just mentioned, plus being able to beat cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 drop, and then technically your match coverages as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to call maybe a little cover 2 here. And we're just gonna run some combos, right? Let's start off with something real simple. Everybody knows how good streak corner flat is. We all know this. So if you have a play that has a streak, a corner, and a flat against cover 2, you are going to be in a good position to be able to hit the sideline and find a wide open receiver. Yeah, velocity ability is obviously way easier, right? So touchdown. You guys saw that earlier in the video. Now, if you guys are going to use this play, for instance, this look to beat cover 2, you also need to be able to beat it from cover 3. Now it's real simple because we didn't motion anybody, but keep in mind that if you guys are using it to, beat a cover 2 zone, you have to be able to beat cover 3. So in this situation, we are now going to run the same streak corner flat, but we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to now use motion, and you guys are going to use this motion to pull that zone, for instance. And again, it's going to pull that guy down the field, and then you can kind of throw your corner route underneath of it. Real simple, right? Now, here's the thing. Because we used motion, you now are responsible for having a cover 2 beater that uses that same motion. So I want that to be understood, because these are where tells develop in your offense, and that is rule number 4. Rule number 4 is motion rules. If you motion to beat any coverage in this game, you must use that motion to beat every other coverage. So when we talk about that motion where we motioned out, you also need to have a motion out that beats that cover 2, because we use the motion to beat cover 3. So when we're back in a cover 2 based defense, we are going to now use that motion to get our opponent thinking, oh, cover 3 beater. But really what we're doing is we're using the slant as something that we could check down underneath a deep middle read, or, you know, use that motion to, you know, get your opponent's user to bail out and open up something else. You have to have that motion useful against every coverage in the game. That includes man coverage as well. So when you use motion, you must recheck all your boxes. If you're beating all these coverage static without motion, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, and man coverage, fine, you're good. There's no tells to your offense. But if you motion and you only use that motion against cover 2, when you go to that motion, your opponent immediately knows what you're doing. So you have to recheck all those boxes. Every single motion needs a beater associated with it. Now, let me give you another example. Let's go back to the cover 2. I know not a lot of players run stock cover 2, but here's, for instance, a motion that I'll use to beat cover 2 out of the X Nasty, a little street corner combo to the short side of the field. With this situation, obviously, I can go ahead and set this up, and we're going to have X to the corner pretty easily. We throw that out there, rack it for a touchdown. We obviously know corner routes beat cover 2. Keeping it real simple. If you use this motion, you also want to use this motion not only in the pass game, but you also want to use it in the run game as well. So if I were to run the ball off of this, your opponent now has to worry about the cover 2 beater and protecting themselves when you run stretch. Now, right there, the defense played pretty well. Nice little cutback by me on the hop cut. But again, you want to use this premise in your offense. If you use a motion for passing, use it to beat all the coverages, but also mix in the run with it as well. This can also be useful, you know, when motioning, you know, for instance, if somebody is playing backside or whatever with their user, maybe they're lurking on this safety. Now you're in a situation where you could run the ball really far away from them, and you could use this motion to kind of widen out the defense and then try to look for your cutback lanes. Again, you know, pretty good gap fills right there, but I hope you guys understand the concept right here. You know, you want them thinking not only, oh, is it the cover 2 beater, the cover 3 beater, or run? Now you're adding different levels. Which pass is it, and could it also be run? You guys want those elements to your offense. Don't only motion to pass, don't only motion to run. You need to be able to go back and forth between these two. So that was rule number 4. This is where this gets super, super high level. I talked about at the beginning of the video how players typically will audible down and you know what's happening. I'm talking specifically meta sets. You know, you get players that will run a bunch offense with 3 receivers all game, and then all of a sudden you see 2 tight ends on the field and you know an audible down to a run is coming. This is where I think a lot of players lose games. So rule number 1 is the first area of players lose games. The run game overall sucks. They don't use it at all, or they use it wrong. And 2, when they audible out, the tells are very, very apparent. So what you want to do, let's take, for instance, let's just stick with the street corner thing real quick. So I'm going to set an audible with a corner out, PA boot slide, and I'm just going to audible into it. You want to make sure that you have other runs in your arsenal that you can utilize against this meta. So let's say, for instance, that let's go now into, maybe we got some overstorm here, and I'll call cover 2. So we're sticking with our X Nasty with our cover 2 beater. And for some reason or another, I decide I want to go ahead and throw my opponent off my scent. And I audible down into this formation that I just used, but it's a similar concept, right? A lot of players are going to think, oh, he's going to run the ball. But in this situation, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just going to go ahead and run this combo from a different formation. So we snap this ball, street corner. Hopefully I have time. We do. We throw the ball out, right? So we're just sticking with street corner, just keeping it real simple right now. When we go to this formation, a lot of players are going to immediately think, oh, okay, you know, he only uses this formation for another cover 2 beater. So what am I going to do? I'm going to audible down into maybe a cover 0. Well, this is where you need to have the ability to say, okay, well, now I know he's in a cover 0. Let's go ahead and run the ball away from this. And you see how potent this can be. So you need to, when you have an audible out scheme, if you have plans to use this more than one time a game, you need to recheck all of those first 4 rules that I gave you: your run game, your blocking game, your pass game with the cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 man and match beaters, And obviously your motion rules. If you use motion in that audible outset, you need to make sure that you use those motion to recheck all those boxes again. So this is an overall high level breakdown of what an offense is. You can't really have an offense that has tells in it. Good players are going to immediately key in on those things. When I watch somebody play, it's not just how they audible, it's how they hot route too. You notice a lot of times receivers point to their helmets when they hot route them. If somebody is really, really robotic in the way they play, I can key in on things. Oh, when he came out and audibled, I noticed the left receiver patted his helmet and he had him on a post. Well, that's easy. Next time I see that guy pat his helmet like that, I'm likely keying the post with my user or using some sort of adjustment to go ahead and counter that so I can use her elsewhere. Those are the things I think about, but most players in general don't. And what I'm trying to say is once you get to that level where you're trying to get better at this game, these are the things that you need to think about. Which brings me to my next point, and the most important point, number 6. Everything that I just said to you seems complicated. It's not. Do not overcomplicate this. Cute for the sake of cute is not necessary. Take that from me. I've had offenses over the years that did not check all these boxes and could beat average players up and down the field. But once I faced somebody that is really, really high level, it fell apart because I didn't have an element that I just taught you guys. Yes, you can be off meta and still be effective. Take a look at X Nasty. This is a bunch offense. What is very, very meta in Madden? Bunch. What have I done here with this? I've got a condensed split bunch with a really, really good run game, an overall great run game. It's got the ability to quick pass. It's got all the different routes that beat coverages deep. It's got one play touchdowns. It's got the ability to mix in play action with it. It's got a great slew of audible out formations that have a lot of the same routes and a lot of the same principles. Do not just run an offense of, a couple different plays and then you audible to one thing and there's nothing else that you complement it with. You want to make sure that everything is cohesive and it works as a system for you. That might seem complicated, but it's not. Those are the things that you have to focus on when you are playing Madden to take your game to another level. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you guys think. And we'll be definitely doing something like this in the future on the defensive side of the ball as well. So please make sure you subscribe. We'll see you guys later. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.